All right, hopefully I clickbaited this well enough for you. Did Spock have a son? What a great question. This is going to be a review of all of our yesterdays, which is one of the penultimate episodes of Star Trek, the original series, at the very, very end of this show, the sad season, where the quality really diminished. But, this is actually one of the better ones. Kirk, Spock, and McCoy show up in this library, and this is actually written by a librarian. She worked in a LA library at the time, and she wanted to insert librarian and actually putting the concept of storing memories and the like into this deal. This library has this tove of all these times, and the world's dying. And so Kirk and Spock run into this guy run into the guy over and over. It turns out there's robot copies of the guy out there who's the main chief librarian there. And he keeps trying to get them to go back in time because he wants to get them off before the planet dies. And he doesn't understand that they're from a different world. So they accidentally go back in time. Spock and McCoy jump through at one point, and then Kirk jumps through another point. Very reminiscent of the Garden of Forever in the way that works. You see them kind of disappear into a little opening, much like the Garden of Forever gate, and then they end up back in time and kind of trapped there. Now, what's interesting, there's some weird suspension of disbelief problems with this episode, of course, where it's they can talk to each other through their spots in time because they've got two portals open. Also, how did it know to send Kirk back through the one place and then them back through the other place? If both of those were inserted into their various devices at the same time, why did it choose those necessarily and not send them? It's just there's little weird things that are this doesn't quite work, but okay. And then there's Spock goes back to this tundra area where there's this woman here, and she's living all by herself, and yet she has all the food she needs to survive, I guess, forever. And she's got a heated cave that's going to last forever, and light that lasts forever. And she's supposed to be a prisoner or exile or something like that. They really gave her a lot of comforts for being a prisoner/exile. So if you start thinking about it too much, it breaks down a little bit. But it is a fun episode nonetheless. So hit the like and subscribe button as we get into this. And I'm going to get into the concept of sun in a minute because it gets really, really interesting as this goes along. Now, Kirk has to deal with these witch trials going on where they think he's a witch, and it turns out one of the judges, adjudicators out there is one of the guys who actually did travel back in time from the end of the world and kind of understands that Kirk's not supposed to be there. So he eventually helps him escape and leave. So very simple plot on the Kirk end, and it's very, very good. And Spock, McCoy gets kind of injured, and Spock gets cozy with this chick, Zarabeth, who eventually stops wearing this fursuit. Do we have this here? Let's see. Oh, there we go. And naturally, she just takes off the fur and she's half naked because this is a 1960s Star Trek show, and Gene Roddenberry liked that kind of thing. The woman, the actor, she said originally when she saw the costume and put it on, she was horrified that she had to wear this. Very, very funny. On this level, but she looks good doing so, definitely. And Spock thought so too. And so Spock gets really emotional and gets really, really into her. They end up kissing and the like. And this was a product of NBC telling Star Trek that they wanted more of a woman viewership. So they tried to add romance into the plots for that, because hoping that if Spock gets some lovey time, and they did one with Scotty getting some lovey time, that the women would like the episode more. It didn't actually work. Now the ratings kept falling towards the end of this series. Very sad. This is one of the better ones. Like I said, of the third season, I'd say it's one of the top 5 episodes, and is worth watching and is good stuff. And Spock gets really emotional and weird through this episode, which gets explained because they went back in time. Vulcans are like this back in time because Vulcans used to be an aggressive race or whatever. And so therefore that's why Spock is like that. And I'm just I'm sitting here well, does that mean McCoy back at this point is going to turn into a cave person? He doesn't. So why doesn't he? But Spock doesn't again make a ton of sense. and Spock's emotionalism is kind of weird on this level. They eventually do get rescued by the Enterprise, and that's that. So good episode. I wouldn't say it's the 10 out of 10. If I'm looking at 10 out of 10 episodes, I am looking at City on the Edge of Forever, Balance of Terror for the like. So I'd call this a good 8 out of 10. It's better than your average episode. Good stuff. Now, what happened here? Spock did hook up with this chick for a little bit. McCoy is in the cave there. So I don't know how much time they actually had in this, but it got imagined. A.C. Crispin, who was one of the first writers to come and do Star Trek novels, imagined that there was a continuation of this, and that Spock discovered that his own son was living 5,000 years in the past, and that he got Zarabeth pregnant, and then he found this son, because his son was growing up, and through the Guardian of Forever gateway. So Crispin obviously saw the theme that this was like the Guardian of Forever, much like we saw, and then tied it into that, which is a pretty interesting tying in of the two episodes. Now it is a little fan fictiony. The Romulans are attacking it, and they get into this big battle in this one. And Spock goes back in the past, or the son comes into the future after Spock grabs him, and then tries to adjust to the Enterprise. Doesn't quite work, and then ends up sacrificing himself through this deal. Goes back in the past, and then the Romulans do not get the Guardian of Forever. Pretty interesting on that level. This was an okay book, and I'd call this one like a 6 out of 10. But then there's a follow-up to it, which makes this book and actually the whole thing, you can view it as a trilogy. You can view the episode as part 1, you view that as part 2, and then you can view this Time for Yesterday, which is the next book in this, as part 3. Now we're in the Wrath of Khan era, or slightly before Wrath of Khan. And they go back to the Guardian Forever because there's a problem. Like, time is like unraveling because the Guardian's all screwed up. And they go back in time and they find out the son's gotten older, and there's problems, and he's about to die in his timeline. But they also need him to interact with the Guardian because he's formed a special bond with the Guardian in the last book, and that's going to help them save time in the process. There's a wonderful like fantasy story embedded within this. Where Crispin develops Spock's son and then his eventual love interest in that too. And it mirrors like that love interest in that, and that like star-crossed lovers mirrors what Spock did with Zarabeth in the episode as well, making this for a really, really treat of a read. So I really enjoyed this, and this is why I ended up making the video, because I just finished reading this. And I was like, wow, this is cool. You guys should check this out. And this is some classic Star Trek stuff back then. Now, A.C. Crispin is probably best known for her Sarek book, which is a standalone that actually really develops Spock and Sarek and their relationship together. But these two, as a combined unit right here with the episode, really make for a nice exploration of the original series that develops on that kind of penultimate episode. That was really, really fun stuff. So, does Spock have a son? I don't know in continuity if he does, but in the books now he does, and we can make our own continuity, so let's pretend maybe he does. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Really appreciate you guys watching this. Have you read these books? Let me know down in the description below, and let me know your thoughts on the episode as well, as we try to cover all things Star Trek here. And I appreciate you guys for letting me review an episode and some books, because that's a lot of fun. See you soon.